Hi guys, I hope all of you are healthy and fine. In fact, a lot of people have been asking me for book reviews and I have not gotten down to doing a review in a long time. So I thought this time let me just focus on books, and incidentally they are all non-fiction books again, which I picked up last year during the lockdown and read them all. So what I do in this video is basically run you through a brief idea of the author, the content of the book, and also share the things that stuck with me or my takeaways from the book. All the books that I mention in this channel are the ones that I purchased myself, and I have seen myself go back to it again and again. So I don't think it'll be a bad purchase for you either, but I leave that to you. I have not been paid for the reviews of these books, so this is my honest take on these books. So here we go. Of course, the first book has to be on happiness, right? So the book is The Art of Happiness, a handbook for living by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Howard C. Cutler. Now this book is in a greenish cover, as you can see. Dalai Lama's picture is on the cover. It's not a very thick book. It's pretty easy a read. So let's get into the review of this book. So I've been fascinated by Buddhism in general and Dalai Lama specifically. Have you guys gone to Leh and Ladakh? Well, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, because from the monks to the monasteries, it's peace, joy, contentment, happiness everywhere. And it's unbelievable peace and calm that you see there, right in the lap of nature. The way they go about living their lives with so much of simplicity and ease, it really fascinated me. So this book basically unravels the secret of the Buddhist way of life from an Eastern and a Western perspective. This is essentially a conversation between Howard C. Cutler, who's a psychiatrist, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and they engage in a conversation about suffering, about pain, about loss, about friendship, it's love, so many things. So these conversations seem very honest and very fluid and easy. It kind of throws light on the Buddhist way of life, of course, and applies it into our day-to-day lives. The most remarkable conversations were about suffering. Dalai Lama says that suffering is a way of life, it's a part of life. The more you see it as something negative, something that needs to be avoided, or as a sign of failure, then it adds to the psychological component of anxiety and intolerance, and makes you probably not deal with it in a healthy way and adds to your problems. In fact, you feel overwhelmed when suffering or any kind of difficulty comes your way. On the other hand, if you see suffering as a natural part of your existence, then you would be more open and tolerant of the adversities that come your way as a part of your daily existence. Now, coming to another point that kind of stuck with me, of course, that's my favorite topic, which is happiness. And Dalai Lama says the purpose of life is to be happy. This simple statement can be used as a powerful tool in helping us navigate through life's daily problems. Now, I'm coming to page number 46, where he talks about happiness and how to kind of steer our life towards happiness. When life becomes too complicated and we feel overwhelmed, it is often useful just to stand back and remind ourselves of our overall purpose, our overall goal, that's happiness. The turning towards happiness is a valid goal, and the conscious decision to seek happiness in a systematic manner can profoundly change the rest of our lives. It sounds a little unrealistic when you just read it in the book, but you know, I do take talk sessions on happiness, and in that we have seen how psychologists have tried and understood happiness, and they all say that you can actually create happiness and make that your goal. So yes, I mean, I think in this case, whether it's psychiatry or Dalai Lama's principles, they seem to merge on this idea of happiness. He also talks about hope and why hope is so vital to our lives. In fact, we're living in such turbulent times and we don't have anything else but hope, right, to steer us through these difficult days. So I think this is a book that you must read, especially now that we need some kind of an insight into why things are the way they are. Now, coming to the second book. Now, the book is Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as if your life depended on it. Now, this is the book that I purchased. And, I'm a freelancer. I work on my own, and negotiating is something which I find very difficult. And I kind of dread it. So I thought maybe I should gather some ideas on the subject so that it helps me when I get to the negotiating table with my clients or people who hire me for work. And this is certainly a very, very interesting book, but the author is even more interesting because the author is a FBI hostage negotiator. So imagine what his job entails. He basically is the kind of guy we see in movies, negotiating across the table with terrorists and militants and kidnappers and hijackers. Being an FBI negotiator, he takes us into his world of high-end negotiations, but he also tells us what he has learned from them and how we can apply it in our day-to-day lives. So let me tell you what my idea of negotiation was. Basically 50-50 karo. So if I quote 10 and the person quotes 20, then find a middle ground, get done with at 15. Plain and simple. But after reading this book, I understand that it's probably not the right thing to do. Probably there are other ways to go about negotiations. So here are a few things that stayed with me after reading the book. I love this line that he mentioned. He said, feeling is a form of thinking. We are all taught to be rational while negotiating, but many a time we do become irrational and emotional. What he says is, you need to understand what are the emotions that are beneath the surface, yours or even the counterparts. Understand and manage them in order to drive the negotiation in the right direction. He says you can do that by asking calibrated questions and asking the right questions, basically to understand the underlying motives and the emotions, and then find solutions to the obstacles that are in the path of taking the negotiation to a fruitful conclusion. One pointer he gives is never use why in the beginning of the question. So say, why are you saying that? Could be very accusatory. Instead, use questions that start with what and how. Like, what do you mean by that? Or how can we come to a conclusion or a solution on this? These are the kind of questions that you should be asking your counterpart. So this is a part that's really interesting. He says that saying no in the beginning of a conversation or hearing a no in the beginning of a negotiation is not a bad thing at all. In fact, he says that our culture teaches us that saying no is not good. He says that by saying no, the counterpart or the person sitting across to you feels calm and in control of the conversation. So allow him to say no and don't get shaken up if someone says no to you. Let that go by, and then you can take the conversation by asking the calibrated questions and understanding his motives and emotions and coming to a good conclusion. So hearing a no is not bad at all. The interesting part is these pointers can be applied in our day-to-day lives, in our interpersonal relationships and our professional equations as well. Most of the people are not good at communicating their emotions. So this book gives you the pointer that helps you understand what the underlying emotions are, manage them, label them, mirror them, and then ask the calibrated questions to come to a good, easy solution for both of you. This is something that you need to apply in your day-to-day life. So I do recommend this book to you. Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as if your life depended upon it, by Chris Voss and Tahl Raz. Okay, before I move forward, before I forget rather, let me remind you to hit that thumbs up if you like the video so far, and if you would like to see more videos of this kind in the future, do remember to leave that like for me. Okay, so it's time to move on to the final book, and this book came very highly recommended. In fact, a friend of mine gifted this book, and a lot of viewers also asked me to review this book and suggested that I must read this book. So this book is a very famous book. It's called A New Earth, Create a Better Life by Eckhart Tolle. I'm sure you have heard the name Eckhart Tolle before, because his book, The Power of Now, is a very, very famous book. It's one of the most widely read books, apparently. I have not been able to read that book yet, but this book also is very interesting. When I heard about this person, I thought he would be like a social recluse or something, but no, he's actually got a YouTube channel. He's got millions of followers, and there are lots of videos of his sharing his thoughts probably you should check it out. In fact, he had a very difficult childhood. His parents were separated when he was young, and he was kind of alienated from the society. Then he went on to live as a monk. He lived in Buddhist monasteries. He had severe bouts of depression, and after a particularly very intense phase, he had the spiritual awakening, and after which his life completely transformed. So this is as a personal journey to Eckhart is a very interesting person, and I'm sure his insights have come in from the phases of very deep difficulties that he has gone through. You know, he says that humanity is now facing a choice, which is to evolve or die. He says a large percentage of the humanity is now moving towards a high level of consciousness, which means basically humanity is seeing the whole world as one, as opposed to old egoistic mind patterns. There's a very interesting line he says, what a liberation to realize that the voice in my head is not who I am. Who am I then? The one who sees that. Does it sound like Greek and Latin to you? Yes, I understand how you feel, because well, if I had not practiced yoga and meditation and mindfulness, I would not have understood what he's talking about. So for cultivating awareness, yoga is a very easy way to go about it. If you can find a yoga teacher, a good guru who can help you practice yoga and meditation specifically, it opens up a whole new world in front of you. So please do try yoga sometime if you get the chance. So this book kind of addresses our relationship with our own self and the planet around. It talks about various ideas like how ego destroys everything around and the idea of happiness. This is not a book that these ideas are not something which you're hearing for the first time. You must have heard it from multiple sources, but they come together in this book. So you can go back to this book and keep referring it off and on. But there is this particular paragraph that I would like to read to you as I wrap up. I will go to page 258 of this book. Let me get to 258, and I think there are wonderful lines written which talks about the purpose of our life. Yeah. So I'm here on page 258. He says that your life has an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Inner purpose concerns being and is primary. Outer purpose concerns doing and is secondary. The question is how to align the outer purpose and the inner purpose in your life. Your inner purpose is an essential part of the purpose of the whole universe and its emerging intelligence. Your outer purpose can change over time. It varies greatly from person to person. Finding and living in alignment with the inner purpose is the foundation for fulfilling your outer purpose. Sometimes the purpose of life is not very clear to us, and in a way it addresses that question that arises in our mind every now and then. At least it arises in my mind every now and then. That is, what is the meaning of life or purpose of life in general? Well, this book kind of answers those questions. So alright guys, I hope you really like this video because I really enjoyed making it. These books are what I read in 2020 when the lockdown had started, and I just started ordering books one by one. They came in slowly, I read them and I forgot all about them. But when I wanted to make this review, I went back to these books. It was kind of a refresher course for me. I went through the whole book. In fact, I read page after page, made notes, and then I have come up with this video. So I really enjoyed the process. I hope you enjoyed this review as well. Any thoughts, any suggestions, any comments, they're most welcome. Please leave it in the comment section below. And also, if you like the video, you know what to do. Do hit the thumbs up and also share it with your friends and family. And if you do check out the other videos on my channel as well, if you like them, do remember to subscribe. Take care and stay safe, stay healthy, stay with your loved ones, give them a lot of love and enjoy a lot of love in return. Take care. See you soon with a fresh new video.